Hey guys, welcome back to the next part of our series. Today we're going to talk about post-production, and this is one of those super like big secrets of the industry. You will never ever get a final render straight out of your render effects. You will always go through some sort of post-production process. So post-production is nothing more than bringing your image into an image editing software or video editing software such as Photoshop or After Effects and tweaking a couple things here and there to make this image look even better. Because yes, I mean, this looks really nice. It looks really natural, really cinematic, if I may say so myself. But we can again do a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to talk about three main things right now. Again, we're going to keep it basic. We're going to cover this a little bit more in depth as we move forward with the series. But there's three main things that we want to change or we want to modify on our images. The first one is exposure and gamma. So I'm going to go here to the left side or right side of Photoshop. I'm going to click this button and I'm going to say I'm going to add an exposure adjustment layer. The adjustment layers are really good because we're not actually modifying the image, we're adding a filter, and at any point we can just like modify or edit this filter. And there's a couple of things we can do here. If we double click right here, we're gonna get this properties. Sometimes it pops up as a little window. In this case, it's right here. And we can change the exposure, which as you can see, we're gonna expose everything, or underexpose. We can change the offset, which is gonna change where the like midpoints and black points are. And we can change the gamma, which is also gonna like darken or lighten the scene a little bit without really like crunching things in a bad way. So in this case, I think I'm gonna lower the gamma just a little bit so we don't have like super dark shadows. And exposure wise, I kind of want to bring this up a little bit, just a little bit. So that's the first one. Exposure is really good to modify like some basic stuff. And then we have one of my favorites, which is color balance. Color balance is a very basic layer that we can use to change the way our image looks. Now, color is super important in storytelling and in cinematography because it allows us to again tell different stories. Usually when you are filming any movie, the film that you get or the recordings that you get are in something called a raw format. So yes, there's going to be light information and shadow information and everything, but there's usually not going to be any color graded. So you're going to get this sort of stuff. And it looks very bizarre. When I first saw this, like, really? This is what people get? And the answer is yes. They get this information in 32-bit images, in raw files, and then they use color grading softwares to recolor the shadows, recolor the lights, recolor everything pretty much. And the cool thing about working in this way is that once you have this thing, which is, as you can see, very gray, very dull, you can color this any way you want. So you can go really saturated, really desaturated. You can go really warm, really cool. Like, there's a lot of things you can do. And actually, I'm going to show you real quick. I'm not going to have as much a range on this image specifically, but if I were to do the same thing, like add a color balance, I can say, hey, you know what? I want my shadows to be warm. And we just make warm shadows. And then I want my lights, my highlights, to be cool. And we push this like this. Got it? So by changing or by having a very nice base here, we can modify the colors. And of course, using other softwares, you have way more control over the things that you're doing. And you can recolorize the image to fit the specific narrative that you want. In our case, for this fruit bowl that we have right here, there's a couple of things I want to do just to, again, balance things out. So on the color balance tab, one thing that I'm noticing is it's a little bit too warm, right? And usually you should have a balance between warm colors and light colors. So if everything is too warm, what I can do is I can go to the shadows and say, hey, why not make the shadows slightly cooler? Just slightly, very little, just like this, maybe even a little bit purple right there. And maybe go to the highlights and push the warm effect of the lights just a little bit right there. And you can see the difference. This is without the color balance, and this is with the color balance. It's already giving it a little bit of a different effect, okay? Now, one of the cool things, again, as I mentioned, of working with this sort of effects is that at any point I can change how much of this is really affecting. So maybe I just want like a 30% of this effect. And yes, we're gonna have this very interesting like purple shadows, as you can see right there, but it's not really overriding anything of what we just did. Same with the exposure. At any point, I can just like remove some of the information for the exposure. This is, again, something that can be done using a color balance, or you can also use something called a curves modifier or a curves element. The curves element works as follows. What you're seeing here, this histogram, tells you how many pixels are black and how many pixels are white. So as you can see, most of our pixels are on the black side. It's a really dark scene. If I were to grab this graph and push this over here, we're pretty much telling it everything go darker, yeah? go a lot darker, and we're gonna have even a more intense contrast. And if we push it to the other side, we're gonna light everything up. A really cheap and easy trick to do here is create an S-curve. So we create 3 points on this curve, and this one, for instance, we make the darks a little bit darker, and we make the lights a little bit lighter. So we crunch the elements. Or you can do the inverse. You can do like this, and you're gonna get another sort of effect, which I don't particularly like, to be honest, but it's there. So I'm gonna push the darks a little bit darker, just a tad bit, and I'm gonna push the lights a little bit lighter as well. And the cool thing about this one is that you can also go to the curves and do the same thing. If I feel everything is a little bit too red, I can just grab the red curve and bring it down. So now everything's gonna go into other colors such as blue and green. Or if I want things to be even redder, even warmer, I can just push the red color a little bit more, like this. Or I can go to the blue color, to the blue channel, and say, hey, you know what? I want the shadows to be a little bit bluer. So I would push them up like this, just a little bit. And I will put this guys back like this. So again, feel free to experiment with the curves. It's a really, really powerful technique to, again, create variations. And this is what a lot of people don't tell you. Like, there's so much work done in post-production that you don't even know about. Like, I was working with a client recently, and the models that I delivered were really, really bad. But since everything was going to have motion blur and movements and stuff, he was like, yeah, that's fine. We don't even need precision. We just need, like, the blobs to look nice, and that's it. So look at the difference now. If I grab these 3 things right here in control, actually, let me just double click this one. Just gonna bring a copy all the way to the top. So this is what we got out of Maya. And now if we see this is what we get after a little bit of post-production. So just a little bit more tweaking here on the highlights, a little bit more tweaking on the colors, and we get a really, really, really cool effect. Something that looks even better. Now, this is not the end. There's still a couple more things that I want to add. One thing that usually happens with 3D is that images get blurred a little bit, right? So some of the textures might not be as sharp and things like that. So usually even throwing a smart sharpen right here, I'm gonna go filter, I'm gonna say sharpen, smart sharpen. That usually helps a little bit as well. It makes things look a little bit more like interesting. Sometimes it's a little bit too much. You can see it right there. Like it really brings a couple of things like into existence, but it's really nice. It's gonna give us a very, very interesting effect. Another thing that we can do is we can add a little bit of grain. Remember we talked about grain or noise, and there's a very easy way to do this. I usually like to add this at the top of everything. So I'm gonna fill this layer with black, Control and Delete to fill this with black. I'm gonna say filter, noise, and I'm gonna say add noise, and we're gonna get this. Usually not that much, 5% is more than enough, or sometimes maybe let's try like 10%. Add noise, let's try 10%. There we go. And then this one, we're gonna set this layer to screen. Screen layer will get rid of all of the black colors, and it's gonna only leave the color effects. So we get this sort of like film grain again. It's also gonna reduce the blacks, because as you can see, without having a grain, all of this is just like a splotch of black. So by having a little bit of grain, we get something interesting. I'm gonna reduce this by 50%, which is still gonna be quite helpful. And there we go. That's, again, another little layer that we can add to make this thing look a little bit better. Finally, and this is just this is only gonna work for still images, but it's something that you definitely wanna add if you can. I'm gonna look for light particles texture, and you're gonna find this sort of images where it's very, very common that a camera will like. There's gonna be like little bits of things floating around, like in dust and stuff like that. So just look for someone, of course, or for some image that has a good size. I'm gonna look for large, a good size, and that hopefully matches or is as close as possible to the direction of your camera, right? So for instance, in this case, this light source is coming from the camera. So I'm gonna copy this image, paste it right here, make it a little bit bigger, flip horizontal. A little bit bigger like that. This is also going to go into screen mode, and really, really low. It's almost nothing. As you can see, it's just 6%, 7% maybe, and that's it. This is a little bit too big actually, so I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. And now that it's smaller, we might be able to bring a little bit more dust. There we go, and that's it. So again, this is what we had. This is what came out of Maya. And after doing a little bit of pulling and pushing here inside of Photoshop, this is what we can get. quite nice change, right? Quite a nice effect, quite a nice presentation, and this is what's going to give us a really nice portfolio piece for our renders. Now, this is a very basic one. We only added a couple of lights, and all of them are pretty much coming from the same direction. We're doing this sort of like chiaroscuro effect where we have really high contrast, but as you can see, we get a really cool result. So I'm gonna stop the video right here, guys. Make sure to finish this exercise. Try to get to this result to make sure you understand all of the fundamental things we talked about. And in the next chapter, we're gonna be talking about composition, and we're gonna be talking about a couple more camera adjustments that we can do. So hang on tight, and I'll see you back on the next one. Bye-bye.